Okay, so this is my attempt to kind of go through the day, or at least the first part of the day, with one hand holding my phone. This is Rim. We're going to give him his morning feed. And it looks like he was a little active here. He knocked over some of his water buckets, so he might have been a little scared last night. This is our Ukrainian horse. He came from Ukraine. Those lumps on there are just kind of an injury that happened, but he's a great horse. They still ride him and they jump him. But yeah, I gotta put some water in here because he doesn't have very good teeth. He's stuck out there on the front lines eating branches and whatever he could find, and he has a few scars from definitely running and hiding. So we try and get that soaked a little bit. Usually I wait a lot longer, so I'll kick some of this out of the way. He's already looking for his food. Let's go ahead and kick this out of the way and just get it to him now. It will soften up in there. He doesn't eat it too fast, but that way he can have a little easier time chewing it. We always try and clean out the buckets, make sure they have clean water. These are pretty fresh. I cleaned them yesterday. I'll probably do some cleaning today. But we try and make sure, especially in this heat, this can turn really slimy. So we try and clean those out and make sure we have fresh water. And this is awesome. You know, it's all plumbed and piped, so it's pretty convenient. I don't have to run around trying to find it. But yeah. You can see he has an outside paddock here. So, this one's white here. You also get some feed. You can see I didn't give them hay because they actually get alfalfa. There's actually little cards help remind us who gets what, who's on a diet, and maybe who gets special attention with the extra feed. So again, I try and pick out their plate here, you know. Don't need them eating dust. Pick it out, move it out of the way. That way they can have a clean plate, you know. We want a clean eating area. These guys normally range and roam around hundreds of acres, so being stuck in one area, we kind of have to make sure they're taken care of. And Wyatt's an awesome horse. He doesn't really drink a lot of water in here. He drinks outside. All right, this is where I got to turn on the lights here. All right, and this is Lance, one of our oldest horses in the barn. He's, of course, waiting for his little extra snack. All right, Lance. Give him a little feed. Hi, buddy. Yeah, I already put it in there. It's already over there. Clean out your plate here. Yeah, buddy. Sorry, this is really hard to do with one hand, so if I'm getting some bad shots, it's just kind of how it goes. For now, at least, I'm a new content creator, so you have to forgive me on some of this stuff. Well, I think it's definitely a privilege and an honor to be part of this barn here. The owner says it's a small barn, but there's some champions here, so it's really cool to be, you know, with a farm that's active and doing things. It's always something to do, keeps me busy. Even if I get done early, I try and help out or get extra tasks done because it's a business, you know. These horses are expensive, and it's expensive to take care of them. But I don't drop my phone in that water here. Sorry, guys. But yeah, you know, it's definitely a privilege, and it reminds me always to be thankful. These guys get some really good treatment here. I get to have some good company whenever I'm working. Yeah, get some good company. I hope I get to live as long as you, man. Almost 100 plus years in our years. 38, I think. Okay. Yeah, 38. He was 38. We moved him around, so this is Willie. Hi, Willie. Hi, Willie. Snack bar. This is one of the few that get this cage. There we go. This will be a little difficult here, but yeah, he's chowing down. Salad bar. Get that in there. Yeah, the tasks aren't difficult. It is kind of repetitive to some degree. You do get a lot of kind of the same typical procedures, but it is different each day. Let's get that out here. He doesn't get out, so we keep him in. We let him out in the paddocks, but he doesn't really need a run. Again, I did clean these yesterday, but I'll probably clean them again today. Get these filled up. Okay. A little difficult. There we go. Yeah. Now, sometimes people ask, do I get to ride these horses? I personally do not ride these horses. They are very trained for a specific equestrian sport, and they're very expensive. It's like asking to, drive a Lamborghini at a dealership you work at. I'm pretty sure there's some stipulations around that. And I'm also haven't ridden in a long time. I've ridden kind of just rugged, just jump on the horse, no saddle, and just see what happens. And I've gotten pretty used to that, but that's not something that I think they want to have happen here. This is a very controlled environment, which is really interesting to witness and see how the horses get trained, how they work, and how smart they can be. A lot of what I learned also was that they know, different commands. They know language, so to some degree they understand us with our actual words. They also just get used to cues and sounds. Just build up here. Yeah, this is my typical kind of venture here. Oh, don't get splashed. Trying to aim it down, but yeah, this is my typical morning here. It's a really great system for me to be able to live on the property and also work. I get to be right at home. When I take my lunch, I'm at home. I get to be in a really beautiful farm and live rent free. Get paid to be part of the employment and help out. It's just a great opportunity, and it's pretty common in Oregon. These little niche places where people can live on properties and work and develop. And so a lot of people live in RVs or tiny homes or different things, cabins. Sometimes lodging is provided by some of these people. So it's an interesting road. It's like the Oregon Trail never really ended. There's still those kind of communities of ideas around rural living and starting a whole new life, risking it all. Putting all your possessions in one area and just trying to live. And through the grace of fate, or whatever you want to call it, you keep trying to improve your situation. And with each year is another challenge. It's just like the old days, Oregon Trail style. Not that I'm Oregon Trail was only around for 80 years maybe before the trains came. So it's not like it was a long-lived experience, but some of that journey, that residue, is still here with us. I've lived in Oregon my whole life. I was born here. I moved away a little bit when I was younger to Washington, but I've lived in the Northwest my whole life. I haven't really traveled too far. I think the farthest I've ever gone was North Carolina. And, it's a privilege to be born and living where I'm from, Oregon. And there's a lot to learn about Oregon's history. It's a newer state to some degree. In 1890 something, 1880, I forget what it is, 1881. So it's really cool to be able to be part of what I consider the Wild West. I mean, it's still kind of wild out here. There's still a lot of rural living and farm living, and a lot of unique stories and mountain men and journey people. And of course, just like any other state, we have our cities and other things that we have problems and things that come up. But a lot of it is a lot of a Hawaiian feel. I meet a lot of people from Hawaii, and they have a similar vibe. They have a similar feel. You're more likely to get a wave and a hi than a middle finger in Oregon. It's just a beautiful place to be. And some of that culture does change, and there's some parts of it that might be a little hard to get used to.